I watched pretty much every single one of Caitlin's games early on because I am a fan. I do like good basketball. And of course, I wanted to see how she would.
I watched nearly every single one of Caitlin's games early on because I'm a fan. I appreciate good basketball and, of course, wanted to see how she would perform. We're diving straight into a storm brewing within the WNBA, a situation that has sparked reactions from fans, players, and analysts alike. Sue Bird, one of the league's most respected voices, has revealed a serious issue that's affecting the WNBA's credibility and leadership under Commissioner Kathy Engelbert.
No. And it actually, we talked about this before, like the fan that went hard at Caitlin at the Connecticut Sun game in game 1 or 2, I can't remember, where there was an interaction where the fan almost got ejected. It's like, none of this is okay. And we never accept it. We never accept this on the men's side. Why is it okay in our league? Mm-hmm. Why is it, welcome to mainstream?
But what caused this wave of discontent? At the center of this issue is Caitlin Clark, the rising superstar whose record-breaking season has been surrounded by controversy, largely due to how the league has handled her. And it seems the problems trace back to the very top.
At this intersection of culture and sport and fashion and music, like the WNBA players are really looked at now as kind of cultural icons.
True.
And when you have that, you have a lot of attention on you. There's no more apathy. Everybody cares. It is a little that Bird Magic moment, if you recall, from 1979 when those two rookies came in from a big college.
As we discussed before, there was an incident involving a fan at the Connecticut Sun game where the fan almost got ejected for their interaction with Caitlin. None of this is acceptable, and we never tolerate it on the men's side. Why should it be allowed in our league? Is this the way mainstream sports operates? We'll examine how Bird's revelations and the WNBA's leadership decisions have exposed cracks in its foundation.
White, one black. And so we have that moment with these two. But the one thing I know about sports, you need rivalry. That's what makes people watch. They want to watch games of consequence between rivals. They don't want everybody being nice to one another. It's a balance, but certainly from a marketing dollars, but corporate partners are stepping up to endorse these players much more so than they were 5 years.
Why was Clark, who boosted viewership and attendance, treated in a way that angered fans? And how does Commissioner Engelbert fit into all of this? Stay tuned as we break down what this means for the league's future. Before we dive deeper, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Ready? Let's go. We're sitting at this intersection of culture, sport, fashion, and music.
Knew it was coming. This wasn't a surprise. And not just the comments that the commissioner made a few weeks ago where she basically implied that the racial tension is good for business and invoking Magic and Bird. It's not good for business. It's never good for business. And sort of sidestep the question about racism and misogyny and hate that the players are receiving online, basically saying like, don't go on social media or, it's sort of not.
WNBA players are now viewed as cultural icons, and with that comes a lot of attention. No more apathy. Everyone cares. It brings to mind that Bird and Magic moment from 1979, when two rookies from a major college rivalry entered the league. Commissioner Kathy Engelbert's recent comments have ignited fierce debates among WNBA fans and analysts. Her appearance on CNBC's Power Lunch caused a stir when she emphasized that rivalries are crucial to increasing the sport's visibility. While this comment was meant to highlight the role of competition in sports, it seemed tone-deaf given the toxic environment players like Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese have been enduring.
Not every, they're humans, looking at technology. Basketball is a little more complex than tennis, for instance, around technology of officiating. So we're looking at a variety of different dimensions.
Engelbert went so far as to say, "You need rivalry," and pointed to a pairing of one white and one black player to illustrate her point. However, critics, including soccer legend Megan Rapinoe, pointed out that Engelbert's focus on rivalries came at the expense of player safety and well-being. Rapinoe, in a podcast with Sue Bird, criticized Engelbert for not protecting players from the racist and toxic rhetoric online and in stadiums. This resonated with many.
College and going into the WNBA, we as WNBA players were having basketball conversations, and everybody just took it to another place where we were attacking them as people. And that's, again, where that petty and jealousy.
Who felt leadership was more interested in marketing than defending its athletes. This wasn't a surprise. Engelbert's comments, which seemed to suggest that racial tension could be good for business, were a misstep. She avoided addressing the racism, misogyny, and hate directed at the players, essentially brushing it off as something trivial. Engelbert later issued an apology, acknowledging that hate speech is harmful, but her attempt to correct the mistake fell flat for many. It highlighted the widening gap between the league's leadership and its responsibility to protect players and maintain integrity.
The NBA's perspective, the WNBA and the league office and Kathy's role specifically is basically to protect and shepherd the league, both from a business perspective, from a player welfare perspective, from a health and safety perspective, and from a growth and investment perspective. And this is where I feel like
the backlash didn't come without cause. Analysts pointed out that Engelbert's leadership often prioritizes marketable stories over substantial policies. By focusing on rivalries, she shifted attention away from more pressing issues like player safety and respect, leaving the impression that profit mattered more than principle. Engelbert also made headlines recently when asked about the referee problem. She mentioned that basketball is more complex than tennis regarding officiating technology, adding that the league was exploring various dimensions. This comment seemed to miss the point, as fans and players were more concerned with the lack of consistent officiating on the court. Here's
They decided that they were going to let her know she was Rookie of the Year with a phone call in Connecticut during a practice before a playoff game. You can't make this.
The stakes for the WNBA couldn't be higher. Caitlin Clark has elevated the sport's viewership and energized the fan base, yet Engelbert's approach risks undermining these gains. Fans and players alike are questioning whether this leadership
television ratings, high attendance figures. Ladies and gentlemen, that doesn't come courtesy of a league. It comes courtesy of the players that play in the league. And in her case, she was the most popular, which means she could have helped your bottom line, which means you should have seen that from day one and maximized it. But you didn't.
Style is sustainable, and whether focusing on rivalries is distracting the league from what truly matters. How did these decisions affect one of the WNBA's most influential players? If you've made it this far and are enjoying the video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications. We appreciate you taking the time to watch. Now back to the discussion. When Caitlin Clark entered the WNBA, it was clear that her impact was more than just on the court. However, the WNBA, instead of focusing on elevating her legacy, has at times allowed petty rivalries and jealousy to overshadow the larger issues. Bird and Rapinoe discussed this on their podcast, highlighting the disconnect between league officials and the realities faced by players. Bird, revered as one of the greatest players to ever play the game, and Rapinoe, a staunch advocate for social justice, didn't hold back in calling out the leadership. Bird emphasized that the WNBA's focus should have been on protecting players and shielding them from toxic attacks, not just boosting rivalries. She explained that the environment had become so hostile that players were beginning to feel unsafe both online and at games. She also stressed that the labeling of fans, like calling Caitlin Clark's fans new fans, was damaging and needed to end. Rapinoe echoed this sentiment, pointing out that the league failed to protect players from the negative side of its sudden rise in popularity. The podcast was clear. The WNBA must reassess its priorities. Bird and Rapinoe called for the league to shift its focus, arguing that marketing alone won't sustain the sport.
now it's the responsibility of the players to not only go play the damn game and to be great and to give everything that you know it takes, mind, body, soul, to be the best player that you possibly can. Now it's on them to ensure their own health and safety, their own player wellness, their own safe workplace, whether that is online, in stadiums, or otherwise. And I don't think that that's...
They urged the league to protect its players and ensure safety while supporting growth and investment. The league, according to Bird, must act as a guardian of the players' well-being and ensure fair play across all areas, from business to player health and safety. As the season progressed, it became evident that players were shouldering an unsustainable burden. Not only were they expected to perform at elite levels, but they were also left to defend themselves from constant attacks, all while trying to grow the game. This created an environment that eroded trust within the WNBA community. Caitlin Clark's debut season wasn't just remarkable, it was historic. Her presence and performance generated excitement, bringing new audiences and revitalizing longtime fans. Her influence led to increased ticket sales, higher TV ratings, and stronger merchandise sales. However, the league's response was surprisingly muted. Her Rookie of the Year honor, for instance, was given with little fanfare. It was done over a phone call during a practice session before a playoff game. A moment that should have been a celebration was instead an afterthought. This lack of recognition wasn't just a missed opportunity. It sent a clear message to the fans that the WNBA didn't know how to capitalize on its brightest stars. If the league couldn't properly celebrate Clark's success, it raises the question, what does this mean for other stars in the future? Clark's impact should have been the spark that helped the WNBA reach new heights, but leadership's hesitance undermined that opportunity. Instead of celebrating her achievements, the league failed to maximize the potential gains from her popularity. This year's WNBA now faces crucial decisions about how to handle its future. With Clark's breakout season drawing record-breaking attention, the league must decide whether to build on this momentum or risk losing it altogether. Leaders must focus on player safety, fairness, and consistent officiating, issues that have become more prominent since Clark's arrival. If the league cannot guarantee a fair and safe environment for its players, its credibility will continue to be in jeopardy. Clark's debut season brought unprecedented attention to the WNBA. Yet, as her success revealed the gaps in officiating and player safety, it also exposed the disconnect between leadership and the players. The WNBA must act decisively to address these issues. By doing so, it could solidify its position as a leader in women's sports, but failure to do so could lead to a gradual erosion of trust. The future of the WNBA now hinges on how its leadership listens to its athletes and responds to these challenges. The stakes are higher than ever, and how the league chooses to move forward will shape its legacy for years to come.